Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. If you don't know me, if you're new here, I'm Shelly. I'm growing flowers for the first year. Whoa! Great, that's about all. Okay, the back of this flower, this is a single dahlia and grew from seed. You can see it has a reddish, pinkish tint, and then orange toward the end, and bursting with some lemon yellow in the center. So we just lost this guy's vase. Alrighty, we'll see how that goes. Also, Aki is definitely wanting attention, so she's been saying I love you. And I'm not good. I don't even attempt to edit. It's very time consuming and I have a lot to do, but I'm going to try to keep this one very streamlined, and that may be a challenge for you. For you to listen to me with my speech issues. And if you don't know, I've had a stroke, and it's been several years ago, almost 3 now, that I've worked on. I lost my speech totally. So I worked hard to kind of rebuild, and I still have some very difficult aspects, but videoing is helping me. And I'm sorry you get to see me struggle through those things and losing my thought. So let's get started. Just briefly, Serena, I just have a couple things that I want to say after watching her interrogation interview with the police. Serena Sharpe. Then we're going to have like an overview in my interpretation of mind control and coercion. And I want you to pick out someone that you kind of know or just imagine in 3 different scenarios. So let's get after it. Serena, if you compare Serena's interview with someone like Zulema, they are different as in night and day. I like that Serena answered questions, pointed questions, didn't try to change the subject. If the law enforcement kind of asked a follow-up question, she was on top of it to explain. And if you know something about Serena, she's the one that kind of says they kicked me out. But what made me really concerned about her is that she moved from Connecticut all the way to Rexburg, Idaho. So when you notice someone that moves for a purpose with a group, that is changing everything about their lives. So typically, they are all in. If they're going to move, they're just all in. So Serena participated with them a little bit, and she said she's the type of person that asks questions. And I relate to that. I sometimes ask more questions than typical people. It's just my nature. I love to research. So, from what I gathered, rather than actually officially kind of kicking her out, it sounded like she was ghosted. That they were no longer inviting her to the ladies' prayer casting seance. It's hard for me to find the right word from what I interpret that. So that's what I have to say about Serena. Put any comments below. I love reading your comments. I get to learn so much. And even if it's speculation, which a lot of mine is speculation, it helps connect dots to the possibilities, maybe of things that we've never considered before. So I thank you for that. Now let's get into mind control or excessive coercion. You could call it many things, but First, I want you to imagine a man or woman that's 19 or 20, just out of high school. And then also, I want you to imagine that that particular person grew up with a family that was struggling day to day to have enough food. This person likely had to work at maybe a full-time job to help the family pay just basic rent and those kind of things. So with this person's life, you can see that and maybe they didn't score so well in school, which could absolutely be to putting all the hours into work and not being able to have time to do homework. And you know, at that age in life, this research shows that high school students need quite a bit of rest. They're growing so fast, and it's detrimental to their health and their mental health if they don't get an adequate amount of rest. So you throw that in there. Darn it. Where did I put my water? Okay, I'm back. Allergies are really at the very high level, and it's normal at this time of the year. So I brought my flavored water that I love, and I have some coffee left. So we'll see if the scratchy throat can calm down. Alrighty, we're talking about a student or a young adult that's gone through quite a few struggles in their short life. School wasn't necessarily easy, and if you even throw in maybe a relative or a parent was incarcerated, maybe they're not the greatest of following rules, and they kind of have a lot against them. So recruiters come around to the school and they talk about these opportunities, and they'll say things about traveling the world and having money for college if you want to after the military, and the pictures are amazing. People look like they have pride and their shoulders are back, and their uniform is like impeccable. So that's alluring, and I'm sure you know that's very alluring to young adults. So if you'll think about that person and ask yourself, is it possible to take a, let me say 19-year-old, and teach them to kill a person that they don't even know? It's very contrary to our nature, even to kill an animal to eat. I am not able, that's not something I do. But that's a side point. Back to the main point. Not only are you going to brainwash them in a way that they will kill people they don't even know, you feed them propaganda and tell them about how terrible these people are, and on top of that, you let them know that you're very likely be put in harm's way and can be shot, so, or blown up. Someone I know, they wonderful person, drove over a landmine and the life was gone in just a second. So that's obviously done, and we know that, and with militaries around the world, not just our military. But I have a inkling of high desire to have like peace in the world. Yeah, I'm idealistic, but it's done, and the things that they use are authority. Whoever the drill sergeant is in charge of every aspect of your life. You've had to move from your home, and they use a limited amount of sleep and very high physical exertion, and They even monitor the little places that they get to have downtime. And you've probably seen in movies where maybe one aspect of their lives is to make their cot like perfectly. And so 19-year-olds, obviously might not be at that perfection level. So everything that's happening in their lives is changing. One slip up, you might have to do 50 push-ups so that your mind is so trained on, let's get this right, let's get this right. Or I'm losing all of those opportunities that I signed up for. And it typically feel like it's a disgrace to leave the military. So, mind control, it happens across our world every day. It's particularly, and I need to keep this brief so I can go to the other two examples. North Korea is, my term is a massive cult. They believe their leader is God. He is God. They can't have other pictures on the wall. They have to have him. And they are so coerced, indoctrinated, that they are fearful of I'm just talking about the general population. They keep the general population very, very poor so that all the money goes into their massive military and living large for the quote-unquote God on the earth and all those people who are taking care of him. So I am going to pull myself back to the topic. Now, let's look at a woman who is, I'm going to say 35-ish. And she hasn't gone to college. She hasn't really started a career. But she got married to the man that she loves, and she has developed a home life and raised children and just been, so glad that she is in this world that she imagined as a young girl. Now give her 5 more years. Her husband is traveling. Her husband's gone. We're at that age that kids start breaking away, talking back. They're making fun of their mom, and there's a lot of upheaval during that time. So if you don't have a very strong foundation and you're clear with your objectives and you're committed to your family, then you are a prime candidate to read some books and fall into a group that are very, they make you feel like they're getting visions and dreams directly from God, and here's your path and plan. And weaved into all of that is the love bombing that we've talked about. They're not used to, and because it hasn't happened in a long time, maybe it did in the early part of the marriage, being told that you are so wonderful, you are amazing, I saw that God is using you, and you believe, let's say at that time you believe that this actual instead of theoretical 144,000 people are going to be gathered together, and when Jesus comes the second time, they'll rise and meet him in the air, and it will be like so glorious. And all of the rest of the evil people that are left on the earth will be burned in forest fires. And so we're just kind of touching on that vision. But you can see if the person that is vying for this cult leader position continues to contact them, have them contact, I'm going to say him because it's more than likely a him in our world. Just think about Jones. Wow. See, my speech. Jim Jones. Just think about him and think about like Heaven's Gates cult. It's usually a male leader, and he typically steps over boundaries, but it starts with pouring out a lot of love. And maybe at times the cult leader tends to believe some of their fantasies, but it's changed everything about your world. And maybe your discouragement that you haven't expressed, teenagers that you're frustrated with, and your husband's gone, and you kind of maybe don't know how to like care for yourself and nurture your goals. Prime candidates for a cult. And sadly, it happens so often. So, we've talked about the military. We've talked about the I'm a color lonely woman raising kids. And this is just at a very small level. And I'm not targeting it as dangerous. But think about a 6-year-old child and going to school, and this, as a 6-year-old, when you see adults, they seem massive, they seem strong, they seem like they have all the power, and they take your world for, let's say, 8 hours-ish, and they flip it on a dime. So everything about your world now is figuring out how to follow basic directions that you might not have ever heard of. And then they get to see that playing on the playground with others is such a joy. And then coming back into the classroom and requiring that everything is exactly perfect. Years ago, and I'm not sure if they still teach this, cursive writing and getting your letters like exact was highly regarded. And I know someone that had difficulty with coordination with their fingers for a long time and wasn't able to cut very well and handle scissors, so got some pretty bad grades during that time, not realizing that that's a fine motor concern that can be developed through therapy. So I've only given you just a taste of how we indoctrinate, and I'm not saying it's bad. It can be bad if we're careful and we don't have the right teachers that care about the students and their future. Then it can definitely be detrimental to the development of a child. And I'm sure all of you remember when you went through school, there's a few teachers that you still adore and are thankful you had them. And there's a few teachers that still turn your stomach. You spent a whole year with them and it was really rough. So we talked about school, which is kind of the light mind control type of, here's the program and you're going to get with the program. And we talked about the lonely middle-aged woman that's very susceptible to cults, that is wanting and desiring this deep love and passion that somebody cares about them so much, and this somebody has lots of power. And then we went to militaries, which I relate to all over the world. We have some militaries in our world that, like I said, North Korea, that are deadly, and they abuse their people all the time. But let's get back to what we can do and think of, is to be aware of mind control, to allow children, young adults, to express views that are very different from your own, and welcome that. And it's okay for them to think their own way. They're thinking because of what they read and what they believe and what friends said. So, having that welcoming attitude of, oh, that's cool. That's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought about it that way. It allows them it relieves their pressure and allows them the opportunity to see kind of other sides of it and other perspectives, so that it will make it much easier for them to interact with people of very diverse backgrounds. So that's just the quick overview, and I love her. I just don't know if you're able to see her. So she just opened up this morning. Okay, thank you. And we didn't hear Aki yell or say, I love you, I love you, what you doing? And she will visit again. It's just, you're right, the lights and the nervousness that I'm talking to someone that's not there, because she really loves all of my attention. If you'll notice, my shirts usually have a hole in them because she loves to ride around on my shoulder, and I allow that a lot. And she likes to chew through, and it doesn't take very long till she has a big hole in the fabric. But she's a cool girl. Thank you, and thank you so much for your comments. I love you guys. Take care.